Today's video is about watercolor pencils. Watercolor pencils are different than normal watercolor palette because we can get better detail and control because a pencil has a smaller tip. Take artist Carolyn Brady's artwork. She can get such good detail and color with the watercolor pencil. Your watercolor pencils are located in the left-hand cabinet next to the sink. To do this, all you need is watercolor pencils, a water bucket, and a paper towel. So here I'm going to show you how pressure makes a difference in the way your paint looks after you add the water. So you take your paintbrush with just a little bit of water, you don't need to soak it, and you go from lightest to darkest. The reason why I did this is to show you that the dark colors, when you press down really hard, it shows up darker. If you press lightly, it's going to have a light color, which is easy to remember. But it's important that you go from lightest to darkest, because if you start at the dark end and go down, you will drag your darker color into your lighter color to the point where it's no difference anymore. Another great thing about watercolor pencils is that you can control the blending. When you use a watercolor palette, a lot of times the blending is kind of out of your hands if you use a lot of water. In this case, where I take orange and yellow and blend them together, I can take the orange first and then do the yellow on the other side, just overlapping them a little bit. And then I can take my water and I start on the lightest side first. So I'll start on my yellow side and work my way in. And as soon as I hit the orange, I stop. Make sure you rinse your brush out. It's very, very important. And then you can do the orange side and go until you start to mix them in the center. So this is my example that I made for you guys today, this cactus with the watercolor pencil. So to start out, I need to start with my drawing. You can plan out your drawing first with a pencil, or you can jump right in. I jumped right in with my cactus pot. I wanted a shadow on the side of my pot, so that's where I'm pressing darker. I also have a shadow because my light source is to the left, and so I press darker in those areas with my pencil. Because you have a pencil, you can take your time and add lots of details. So here I'm going in and adding curtains and adding a window. Watercolor pencil does not require you to be as accurate as if you were using colored pencils. Because you're going over top of it with water, it's going to help smooth out a lot of your areas. This doesn't mean you should scribble all over your paper, but it means that you can maybe not focus so much on trying to get very good areas, because you're just going to go over it with water anyway. So here I'm adding in the background, really getting all those details in. And for the best kind of blending, make sure you mix your two colors together while your paper is still dry with the watercolor pencils. So you take your water bucket and grab any size brush that you need. I'm going to use a medium size brush for my work today. So I start off with the lightest part first. So I'm starting with the lightest part of my pot and working to the darker areas where there is shadow. Be careful not to use too much water. Another thing to note is that some of the colors pop out more once you add water. The yellow in my cactus actually pops out a lot more once I add water to it than it did before when it was dry. So just be aware that yellow and orange specifically are that way. So I'm freezing because I want you guys to notice that you need to wash your brush out. If you don't wash your brush out, you'll get green streaks or streaks of another color that you're using at the time. So make sure you wash your brush out. Watercolor pencils are great because you can go back in and add details after it's dry. So how you color in big areas make a difference. So my wall in the background, I used bigger strokes, so there's some more strokes instead of being a smooth background. If that's a look that you like, that's totally fine, but if you want a smoother area, you need to make sure that you take your time and color in the area very evenly with your colored pencil, your watercolor pencil. Now I'm going in and adding extra details and signing my name, because you always got to sign your artwork. Watercolor pencils are great because you can add a lot of detail and still get that watercolor effect.